Triandafyllidou, thank you very much for coming to the Autumn Academy in Oxford, and thank you very much for your really illustrative presentation on the phenomenon of irregular migration in Europe. Would you please tell me who are irregular migrants and how this phenomenon is framed in Europe?
Yes, I think irregular migration is a phenomenon that's probably overestimated in terms of its size and its political significance, but of course it is an important issue of our times, and it very much relates to the politics and economics in general in the host countries, in the European countries. First of all, I want to say that irregular migration is very tightly linked with irregular work and the interests that there are in the labour market to employ people who are undocumented and thus unfortunately easily exploitable. Second thing is that irregularity is a continuum. It's not a black and white situation as often is thought. Irregularity can involve several forms, so irregular entry, legal stay, then abuse of a visa. It can also involve what is called befallen irregularity, so people are legal for a certain period and then they lose their job or they try to transit to a different stay permit and they don't manage. It is also related very closely to asylum seeking lately, so rejected asylum seekers suddenly become irregular migrants. I think we're in need for more research, more data and estimates of irregular migration so that we can plan our policy responses.
Thank you very much. And it was very interesting also to hear how irregular migrants are put in a position that they have to present themselves as a good citizens, as they have a burden to prove that they are good migrants and they are not bad migrants. Would you elaborate on that point?
Yes, this is almost funny because irregular migrants are documented in many ways, even if their presence is illegal. So they have contracts of employment sometimes, they have welfare security numbers, they have certificates from schools they have attended or their kids have attended, they can have renting contracts when they rent accommodation. So in many ways their presence is documented, and oftentimes they're even involved in civil society, in voluntary work, etc. Now what happens often is that we ask somehow irregular migrants to prove they're good citizens before we give them legal status. So that means in a way a unilateral burden on the migrant to show they're deserving to be regularized, to be legalized. And there are different debates, of course, in this respect. Some emphasize the vulnerability of the migrant, and in particular when it's a single-headed household, when it's in a household that involves sick people or people that have suffered abuse, children, and there is a sense of responsibility. So some irregular migrants are considered responsible, to be blamed for being undocumented, being in an illegal situation, while others are considered to be non-responsible, particularly minors who are not responsible for the actions of their parents. Of course, there's also the other side of the debate, which says migrants or some migrants are useful to the labor market, or we should really help irregular migrants and their families because this is a way to keep public order, to ensure health conditions for our citizens. So indeed there are contrasting discourses, and I think it's a very important debate what kind of a narrative we propose for migration, and even including irregular migration.
Thank you very much.